And I'm here at Broadcom and Dilpreet at MWC in Barcelona. Dilpreet, how are you?
Great, how are you?
Great to see you at the busy MWC, probably the busiest ever,
Oh my
given
Lord.
all the innovation happening. Before that, maybe introduce yourself and your team within Broadcom.
Yeah, great. I'm Dilpreet. I work on VCF, which is the main product out of our VMware division inside of Broadcom. And so we were acquired about a couple of years ago from Broadcom, and we've consolidated all of our key software innovations into this one division, VCF. And I run the VCF workloads division, part of the division, which drives all of the technology that drives our workloads, including our Kubernetes stack, as well as our consumption, our cloud consumption interface, and so on.
Wow, that's quite a wheelhouse to be in. And of course, you're doubling down on an R&D and investment in the VCF platform. It's amazing to watch. Talk about the cloud transformation as you're on the front lines of it the last number of years. Where are we in this move to truly cloud native?
It's interesting. I think in the early days, the cloud native just meant having a self-service interface that you could just take a credit card and then go buy some compute and then get going. Now, I think you have these fundamental technologies that are now maturing, like Kubernetes, that are at the heart of a overall application transformation that drives the heart, the platform of the application. So how the application grows or shrinks, how the application determines what runtime it's going to have, and how it's going to be placed on compute, how it's going to be utilizing storage and other capabilities, and so it's foundational in the way that the applications change, so that the application just has to worry about the business logic and not necessarily how it lays out across the compute, storage, or networking. Right. And so this particular transformation has been interesting to me. I've been on it for a little bit at VMware, and focusing on how we can leverage this capability to be able to deliver more value to the applications. And so that part of the overall cloud native story is really interesting. Now we're in the AI generation, and so now you have another part of the application stack that's coming in that is critical to the next wave of transformation for applications, and how that becomes a fundamental building block for the future changes that's going to happen in applications moving forward.
Exciting times.
Yeah.
I love your enthusiasm for this space. And of course, outcomes vary broadly from those who have the strategy right, but maybe not quite delivering on the expectation. Where are those gaps?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think if you look at this maturing of the Kubernetes space, which has happened quite recently, actually, and we're seeing a lot more transition for customers that are now picking up Kubernetes and going forward with it, where in the past it was more of a niche play. What we're seeing is that more and more customers are hitting the challenges of Kubernetes. It is very, very complex to operate, to upgrade, to deal with the various lifecycle pieces. It can be time consuming. You need certain set of skill sets and so on. And so one of our focus areas has been, how do we make that much, much, much simpler?
Fantastic. Well, simple is good. Simple saves money and
Yes.
all sorts of upside. Talk about your product strategy and how it's evolved to support, cloud native transformations. You've invested obviously tremendously in R&D, but tell us about the strategic direction.
One of the main things that we did when we brought VCF together is that we took all the value that was across different divisions inside of VMware, and we said, okay, how do we integrate it deeply into one product? So like we said, one of the key areas that I worked on was this automation plus vCloud Director. How do we bring our ARIA automation and vCloud Director together into a common cloud interface, if you will? And so one of the things that we really focused on is, what are the values here? So Cloud Director had this amazing way to do multi-tenancy, which is critical for any kind of cloud customer, especially our CSPs that are servicing up for various vendor customers different cloud experience that they want to be able to deliver. And so you want to be able to have that multi-tenancy. And then automation did a great job of then bringing in all the various automation pieces that usually enterprises require, like how do you connect to various systems in other parts of the enterprise and make sure those systems are working well with your cloud system. And so like we took both of the best of both worlds and brought them together and created one big cloud consumption experience. But then we took another aspect that we had, which was the Kubernetes experience, and tied it deeply with it. So now you have this underlying IaaS fabric that is tied deeply to the consumption experience. And so you have individual objects that are coming from the platform rather than abstractions up at the top. And so what you get at the end is a really killer experience for any user that is now using any VMs, Kubernetes clusters, or any other objects that we provide. And so they just have a Kubernetes-like interface up at the top that is based on desired state outcomes that then delivers that value down into the system for them.
Wow, it's really compelling. What a great time to be at Broadcom. Maybe a bonus question here.
Yeah.
What's the most exciting, fun, interesting part of your job? Not just, of course, being at Broadcom, but within the VCF division.
I think we are seeing a lot of energy by customers where they went through the wave of cloud native and they went to cloud to be able to get to cloud native. And now they're like, hey, I really want that experience on-prem. And so I'm really jazzed about like bringing that experience on premise. And so all of this value that we've been generating is to be able to deliver that value on-prem. And so along with this, we're here because we work with telcos and doing a lot of great things with telcos. And so part of that application journey is also what the telcos are going through as well in moving from VNFs to CNFs and so on. And we want to be able to bring that modern experience to the telcos with our new Telco Cloud Platform 9 that we just announced at this conference.
Well, great time to be at Broadcom. Great time to be in Barcelona. What a time to be in the industry. Thanks so much for joining.
Thank you.